welcome to this Bridgewater Now update. I'm John Luck. As most of you probably know by now, southeastern Massachusetts could potentially be looking at more than a foot of snow, but there has been some questions about the tracking of this nor'easter. Jeff Fowler has that all-important snow map, but we talked before the update, Jeff, about a blizzard not being solely dependent on just a bunch of snow coming in.
Well, that's right, John. We've heard the word blizzard, the B word's been floating around there on social media the last couple of days, and it's not often we hear that word each season, but this is the first time this year. And you're right, it does have to do a lot with the amount of snow, the rate of snow, the wind, the visibility, all that stuff coming together. And the storm does have that blizzard potential. Right now we have a winter storm watch in effect for our area, but that will probably be almost certainly upgraded to winter storm warnings and possibly blizzard warnings by about 24 hours from now. Of course, this is as of this taping, which is Thursday afternoon, just before 4 o'clock. It's a high impact storm, but it's also a high margin of error. We have a very high ratio of snowfall that's going to be coming in. Snowfall rates will be possibly 3 to 4 inches per hour on late Saturday morning into early Saturday afternoon. And so if you're under those bands, you can really pile up snowfall quickly. But if you miss those bands, obviously the amounts are much lower. So that's really what we're trying to kind of hone in on here, and we'll continue to do so over the next 24 hours. Again, the headlines: heavy snow, strong winds, coastal flooding, and get the idea. But it's those winds and the coastal flooding that we really do need to pay attention to as well. So we'll do that in just a moment here. Right now, 25 degrees. It's the calm before the storm. So calm, the model says unknown precip. It's been partly sunny out there today. And temperatures generally in the mid to upper 20s across most of the region. Really uniform, and that's just setting the stage for that wintry weather to approach the area. Winter storm watch has been expanded. If you remember from yesterday, it was really just covering Plymouth, Bristol counties, parts of the Cape, and parts of the North Shore. Now we've expanded things out to include Worcester County out towards Springfield as well, all of Rhode Island and most of Connecticut, also most of New Hampshire. And we also have a storm watch along the waters here. That's important. We're going to have some strong winds to deal with and also some coastal flooding that we'll talk about here in just a moment. Radar is very quiet today. Nothing going on across the area just yet. We still have plenty of time for the precip to come in. All right, so let's talk about what's going on here around the country here. This is the details. This is right here, the upper level low in the trough of low pressure. This is what's going to be driving our storm system. And a lot of people have been asking, why I haven't put out a forecast map the last couple of days. Really had to wait for this player to get involved, because this is what's going to ultimately determine how close this storm gets to us and also eventually how strong the storm system will be. So this is starting to move towards our region. We have the energy in place. That's going to be diving towards the East Coast here over the next 24 hours. As that happens, it's going to be developing a storm system off the southeast coast, primarily off the Georgia coastline, we think. And that's going to start to move off to the north. High pressure is in place, but it's not a blocking high, so things are going to be progressive and kind of move their way up the coastline. But the million-dollar question is going to be exactly where that track is, as is the case in most storms. And that's going to be determined, again, by this trough of low pressure and an upper-level area of low pressure that's going to be moving south of New England on Saturday morning. As those approach the water, this storm's going to bomb out. I'm sure you've heard bombogenesis being floated around social media here the last couple of days. What is that? It's basically when a storm system strengthens at a very strong rate at a very short amount of time. But what happens as these storms strengthen, they also tend to tighten up. If you can imagine a figure skater, for example, when they start to spin really quickly, they bring their arms together towards their bodies. They tighten their bodies. It's the same thing a storm system does. So yes, there's going to be very strong rates of snowfall, but it's also going to be in a smaller area. So that's why we have to be very careful as we follow this storm over the next 24 hours to see exactly where that heaviest snowfall is going to be. Here's the map for Saturday morning. Low pressure south of New England. We have some strong bands approaching our area. Again, primarily eastern half of New England, I think, is where the focus is for the heaviest amount of snow. All right, Jeff, get to the point. How much snow are we looking at? So this is our first look at it here. May have to tweak things a little bit, but I think in general you can get the sense here that Bridgewater seems to be in the sweet spot for the heaviest amount of snowfall. Generally around a foot of snow, I think, for the most part. Now, again, we do have some models coming in, even as recent as this afternoon, bringing us 10 inches of snow literally between 10 a.m. Saturday morning and 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon. So that's 3 inches an hour here. And again, if you do get those bands, these amounts are going to be much higher. But if everything swaps a little bit more off to the east, you're going to be much lower, because you can see it's a pretty short distance here before we get amounts down towards 3-4 inches of snow. So we have to do the responsible thing. We have to plan and prepare for a major snowstorm, because you don't want to be caught if this thing does dump 2 feet of snow on you and you're not ready for it. So we do want to prepare for it, but we also want to be cognizant that we still have 24 hours at least before the storm comes in, and some things could change. So kind of just pump the brakes on the hype just yet. We also need to be prepared for winds, because this is going to be a very strong storm system. We're talking about tropical storm to hurricane force wind gusts here if this was the summertime. So you know the drill, especially in Bridgewater, a lot of trees near a lot of power lines, and you get heavy snow to boot. So keep in mind, if you do have the generators, you may want to check on that today. If you are somebody who needs power, make sure you have a backup plan just in case we do lose power here, especially on Saturday afternoon. Some of these gusts, by the way, 60 to 80 miles per hour down on the Cape. So some pretty strong stuff. So for tonight, the calm before the storm again, mainly cloudy. Temperatures a bit warmer though than they've been, certainly warmer than last night, teens and lower 20s across the area. Tomorrow's not a bad day either. I feel like everybody's focused here on Saturday, but we still have one more day to go. It's a nice day tomorrow, some sunshine, clouds in and out from time to time, highs generally in the low to mid 30s. All right, so as we plan ahead again, Saturday's the day. That's where all the weather's going to be happening here. And again, I think it's really late Saturday morning into early Saturday afternoon. That's where we could see snowfall rates easily 2 to 4 inches per hour. Again, if everything is realized. So keep that in mind. I know it's a little frustrating for some folks. They want to know what the exact forecast is going to be, but you got to wait another day or so before you get exact numbers. But the potential is certainly there for a major winter storm, blizzard conditions possible on Saturday. And then we clear out for a nice end to the weekend and the beginning of next week.
Thank you, Jeff. And coming up in a little bit, we're going to have some safety tips, especially if you're going outside trying to shovel, keeping up with all of the snow. And we love to share any photos or videos you get from the snowfall, as long as it's safe to do so. You can email them to me here at the studio at jluck@btvaccess.com with the subject line January snowstorm, and they could end up on the update next week. I had a chance to talk to the town manager, Michael Dutton, ahead of the potential major snowstorm. Among the items we discussed, the town's response to clearing roads, and if it's needed, any warming center here in town if we have massive power outages. The top question a lot of people have, and we're filming this on Thursday, things can change 180 degrees. So we'll kind of go with what Thursday's forecast is, and it's a lot of snow. And I remember you on Channel 5 saying that the number of snowplow drivers and snow operators was down because of the pandemic, retirements, and just a lack of interest because people don't feel like going out for 18 hours. If this storm holds true and we get a foot and a half of snow, whatever it is Bridgewater prepared as far as the number of snowplow drivers to try and get us through this storm?
That's a great question, John. And I would say unequivocally, we are ready for the storm. We have enough drivers. We have enough pieces of equipment to get us through the storm. The question is it going to be getting us through the storm and getting things cleaned up as quickly as people may have been used to in the past, or as quickly as people want? And that may not be the case. So we have the equipment, we have the people, not enough people, not enough equipment, but we have enough to get us through the storm. I think we'll be fine. And quite honestly, the roadways department of our DPW does a fantastic job with what they have. So I have every bit of confidence in Paul DaCosta and his crew.
18 is going to be okay for the most part. 106, 104, those are your major roads. But as far as some of the minor roads, is it fair to say, again, if this forecast holds true, is it fair to say that some of these roads and secondary roadways could be impassable for Saturday and Sunday?
I think, again, it is Thursday. You pointed that out. And I think a lot can change between now and when the storm actually hits. We could get more snow than we're anticipating. It could all be rain. Who knows at this point? But it does appear that it will be snow, and it does appear that it will be a fair amount of snow. So you're right. The primary roads, and it's not a secret by any means, and people I'm sure understand. We want to get the main arteries done as quickly as possible. We will, if there are emergencies, we'll make sure that we clear the road where an emergency is happening. So if there's a secondary street or a cul-de-sac that's getting plowed, it's before the primary roads is generally so that ambulances and fire trucks can get there. So, but generally speaking, primary roads, the secondary roads, and then the smaller access roads come last. So that's just generally a picture of what to expect. How long will it take? I think Paul and his crew have been pretty good about getting first passes done fairly quickly and getting roads accessible fairly quickly. So I have every confidence that into Saturday night, we'll see most of the roads cleared out. Obviously, there'll be a lot of cleanup to do probably Sunday and Monday, but at least they'll be passable.
And I don't think it's any secret to you that the power situation here in town is infamous as far as how it goes during the storms. We had Jeff forecasting 45 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts during the true height of the storm. Any plans yet as far as a warming center if we do get a mass power outage and B, for a lengthy amount of time?
We always have plans for a warming center if that is needed. We usually see how the storm progresses and try to get up to the minute weather forecast. And then if we see more widespread power outages, then absolutely we'll be opening up a warming center. It's a challenge. Nobody wants to leave their home before a storm. Obviously, if electricity goes out, it's going to be during the storm. And we don't encourage anybody to leave their homes and try to venture out in the middle of a storm like this. So it's sort of the kind of decision you have to make as the storm progresses, and we have to make sure that we can get volunteers in to run a warming center or a shelter, and then obviously get the people that need to be in the shelter. So it's sort of an all hands on deck at that point, but we will make that decision as we get further into either the storm preparations or the actual storm event itself.
And again, if this happens and if everything kind of goes to what the forecast is saying and the power does go out, would it be fair to say that the information would be on the town's Facebook page and the Bridgewater portal website?
Exactly. So we try to keep people informed through both those mechanisms. We'll try to push out as much timely information if it's appropriate. I mean, one of the things we try not to do is push out information that's not of any value to people. We try to make it timely and we try to make it pertinent. So we just want to make sure we give people information that we have that they don't have and that they need. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of clutter. So we try not to clutter people's feeds with fluff.
Nobody's really playing the violin for Bridgewater that we don't have a lot of snowplow drivers, because this is something going on across the state and the region. But if anybody's watching this that has the ability to help with snowplow or snow removal, be it a snowplow or a sidewalk operator, there is opportunity for them to get in touch with the town manager's office and try and help out. Because if you get a lot of people on the road trying to help out clear out some of these roadways, you're talking about an easier and a quicker cleanup.
Usually there's, first of all, yes, you're absolutely right. You don't contact me because you'll just get into a black hole of red tape. You go right to the source. So you would call the Bridgewater Roadways Department directly at 508-697-0931. If anybody is interested in doing that kind of work for us, specifically contract plow driving, if you have pieces of equipment and the ability to plow, and the staff and the folks to get behind those plows, definitely call. And again, that's 697-0931 at Bridgewater Roadways Department. Having said that, we do solicit drivers. We advertise usually end of summer into the fall, and obviously, because we're a municipality, folks have to have appropriate insurances and all of that. So they go through a bit of a screening process. So there is that. But again, if you're interested, please absolutely give us a call and we'll try to make it work.
A lot of valuable information. Hopefully, this snow takes a trip out to the east, and this is all for naught, and we just kind of have a practice for the next time. But thank you for coming on and answering some of the questions I'm sure a lot of residents in town have.
My pleasure, John, anytime.
We'll get to more on the storm in just a minute, but we do have some other news to share with you. A Bridgewater man pled guilty in federal court on Wednesday to multiple counts of drug trafficking and firearm charges. 42-year-old Raymond Gaines, who according to the U.S. Attorney's Office was an associate of the Orchard Park gang, was arrested back in June after investigation was opened 2 months prior. It was discovered that Gaines was in possession of cocaine with the intent to sell, along with a gun and numerous rounds of ammunition. The state released its weekly COVID breakdown for local communities, and for the first time in a few weeks, Bridgewater's numbers are trending in the right direction. The number of tests over a 2-week span was down by about 1,000, but the case totals and positivity percentage declined for the first time since the January 6th report. This is starting to reflect the reported slowdown of the Omicron surge here in the Bay State, but of course we'll learn more in the coming weeks. Turning back to the Saturday snowstorm potential, and you heard mentioned the strong winds to go along with the snow and cold, there are some tips should you lose power this weekend, and some of them you can actually do before the first flake falls. Check the gas tank on your vehicle, this way you can leave if you have to, but also it prevents the fuel line from freezing. Don't forget, if enough snow falls, it could cover the exhaust pipe on your car, so make sure you clear that before you start your car or truck. Don't forget, if you're using a generator, to operate it outside with proper ventilation, and make sure your carbon monoxide detector is working properly. And finally, if you do go outside to shovel during the storm to try and keep up with everything, make sure the clothing is dry if you repeatedly go in and out. And don't forget to be careful if we do get a lot of snow, because the cold and countless hours of shoveling can impact your heart. So hopefully you stay safe out there for whatever comes our way. And with talks of a blizzard, we wanted to turn the clock back a little bit to January of 1996. Some parts of the Northeast picked up 3 feet of snow, and Boston saw about 18 inches. We leave you with a look back at Cable 8's coverage of the blizzard of 1996.